Good evening. This is Maestro Catella with a Company of Heroes 2 cast. Today we have a 1v1 on Langreskaya. Our first player today is Fortune, the Dawn of War 2 player, who is now pretty much fully converted to Company of Heroes 2. He loves the game. He's been doing some serious leveling up, both in terms of the system as well as just in terms of his skill. He's been playing the game a ton. His opponent is Paradox. He's a name that I've just seen floating around. He's also has... He's definitely invested a lot of time in this game, and he's probably a very good player too. So Fortune right here playing as the Ostheer. He has chosen to put down his infantry company, and he's actually going with an MG42 as his first unit, so he's going for control rather than just the straight up regular fighting damage of grenadiers. He actually... I was going to say, he's going for, interesting, he's went for, straight for his standard territory point, now going for the munitions. Meanwhile, his MG is cutting across to the other side. I wonder, he will definitely go for this territory point right here. I think that he will need that to connect to the munitions right here, or the fuel right here, although he probably won't get this fuel since this is probably closer to Paradox's base. But we see, let's see, so now Fortune has gotten out his Grenadier squad. And I guess ultimately it didn't make that much of a difference whether he went for the machine gun or the Grenadier first, since he didn't actually engage with either of those units yet. So far, his first engagement he's actually using is between his Pioneers and Paradox's Combat Engineers. The Pioneers actually appear to be, well, I was going to say they appear to be winning. The health bar was going down faster on the Combat Engineers until they got a crit, I believe, and just killed one of the models on these Pioneers. So ultimately the Pioneers are losing this fight. I had heard that the Combat Engineers generally beat the Pioneers, and it probably doesn't help that Fortune doesn't properly have those Pioneers in cover. So loses that early engagement. Other than that, he has some Grenadiers in open cover, and the conscripts are just charging. I would think they would actually want to stay in cover, but actually I'm wrong, because what they're going for is they want to stall out the capture of this point. With the capture circles in Company of Heroes 2, you can actually stall a capture just by putting basically by putting your foot in the point. What I think Fortune would want to do now, Fortune is choosing to actually just let himself get stalled while he captures this munitions point, instead of deciding to have that MG support. And I mean, if he had the MG support, he would have pretty convincingly won, although he still ended up winning with his Grenadiers over the conscripts. So I guess that wasn't necessary. That was just what I was thinking. Certainly one thing he could have done, that he could have moved the machine gun back to help protect, but he decided not to do that. But Paradox still with the better map control overall. He had 2 fuel points. He's even got these conscripts aggressively going down very close to Fortune's base and capturing this territory point. Now, of course, Fortune right now has a unit on both of the fuel points, so he's going to get those in his favor. It doesn't look like any of Paradox's units are going to stop him anytime soon. Although overall, definitely the early map control went in favor of Paradox until he got forced off the field, and now he's losing both fuel points. But there's still the issue of this conscript squad very aggressively going for cutoffs and keeping Fortune out of his resources. I mean, even though Fortune has these territory points right here, he's cut off from these points, so he's not receiving the resources because of this conscript squad just aggressively decapping all of these points. And I mean, Paradox is being really aggressive right here. He's running in front of the defensive base MGs, and he's going to get the... Oh, no, is he going to get the decap off on this point? No, he's not. So I thought he was going to get the decap off here. And I mean, if he did get the decap, that would have been worth it. As it is, he might still get the decap off if he can force off this Pioneer squad. And I think he actually will do it. These conscripts still have not been pinned yet. And that's the only thing that would get, besides them just getting forced off entirely. As it is, Fortune may even lose these Pioneers. They're down to 1 model. These conscripts being absolutely beastly. And yeah, he's cut off again from this point. So incredibly aggressive conscript play. And I mean, one of the things that, of course, Paradox was using right there was that he was using Ura just so that he could quickly run around that base MG, get to that point. But Paradox is still being very, very aggressive with these conscripts. Now, Fortune right now, he's gone. He has, after that lone MG, he decided to build 3 Grenadiers. Let's actually take a look at Paradox's build. So Paradox has 3 conscripts, and he's also chosen to get, now he has that scout car. He will probably put his combat engineer with their flamer. Yeah, I mean, they're right here. They're already getting in the scout car. Although, at this point, the map control has gone back in favor of Fortune. That being said, this scout car, again, just one of the things that if you've been keeping up with either my cast or even anyone else's, and especially if you play the game, you know just how big this scout car is, how prominent it has been in the Company of Heroes 2 metagame. It's basically, it's a transport. It cannot reinforce, but one of the big perks that it has is that the units inside this scout car can actually shoot outside of it. And that's huge because you're not just limited to the machine guns on the scout car itself. You can combine it with flamethrowers, you can combine it with a sniper, you can even combine it with the guard rifle infantry squad to actually make your scout car a mobile light anti-vehicle. So it has a lot of utility. It, of course, as a vehicle, as a light vehicle, it's very mobile, so it gives you a lot of map control, especially because you can actually capture with it when you have a unit inside. That's also something that's different from Dawn of War 2. I don't know if it applied in Company of Heroes, but in Dawn of War 2, you can't capture with a transport, period, even if you have units inside of it. In this game, you can actually capture with a transport that has units inside of it. So Paradox has also chosen to get a sniper. He could actually switch out the combat engineers and put the sniper in there instead. If he wants to, although the sniper, I think, is better at operating without the help of that scout car, whereas I think the combat engineers are going to rely a lot more on the scout car to actually to make the best use of their flamethrower. These conscripts need to go, though, only at 2 models. They have activated Hit the Dirt, but that's the last model. They will actually just get out of there, although the scout car is not chasing. I think maybe it could have, and potentially have finished off that conscript squad. Now, this is a German scout car now. The German scout car cannot garrison like the Russian scout car. It can, however, upgrade to a 2 cm autocannon, which makes it function as light anti-vehicle. And we do very commonly see players get that 2 cm autocannon, but from talking with Fortune personally, I know that he pretty much never gets it because he says it's a waste. It actually makes the scout car, the German scout car, worse as anti-infantry. So you actually just get a less versatile scout car when you get that upgrade, because the scout car, even with the starting machine gun, still functions as light anti-vehicle. And I've actually seen him, as well as, I mean, even in my own experience, used an unupgraded scout car an unupgraded German scout car to combat the Soviet scout car, especially if it does not have guard rifles inside of it. That being said, we do have some guard rifles coming on the field from Paradox, and it looks like he ungarrisoned his combat engineers, so he's probably going to put the guard rifles inside the scout car so that he can chase down the German scout car from Fortune, and he will have an advantage over the German scout car once he has the guard rifles in there. And yeah, we see it right here. That's pretty much what he's going for. And oh, this is not good. Sniper has been caught out of position. Scout car is going to chase after it. And it probably could get the kill on that German sniper, and I think he really needs to commit to getting that kill. Otherwise, he's just going to lose the scout car without really gaining anything. And oh, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get... He just barely does not get the sniper. And then this scout car with the guard rifles inside just straight up take it out. Now, Paradox has gone for... It's, again, I still can't remember all the exact names of the doctrines. They all just have these names and stuff, but... And they won't even tell me once the doctrine has been picked. But this is something like the guard rifles combined arms tactics, and it's still one of, if not the most popular Soviet doctrines in the game, giving you both the guard rifles as well as PPSH upgrades for the conscripts and the hit the dirt ability, the heavily complained about ability that allows the conscripts to duck to the ground to actually reduce the damage taken. It's basically a cover anywhere button. except for the fact that the main disadvantage to it is just the fact that once the conscripts activate hit the dirt, they can't move. They're stuck on the ground, and there is a little bit of a cooldown before they can get back up again. So they're completely immobilized for at least a few seconds. But still extremely powerful, and already Paradox has put PPSHs on every single one of these conscripts. This makes the conscripts not just scale well, but it's like not just scale, but it makes them really, really good. They just become really, really good. Right now, I don't think Fortune has a whole lot. If we go back to Fortune's side, I'm not sure what he really has to deal with that. He does have one squad of Panzer Grenadiers. He does also have the MG42 light machine guns on 2 of his Grenadiers, which is probably a pretty good choice. He has actually said that it's a good way of dealing with hit the dirt. And he's actually focusing on the conscripts right now, so the conscripts are actually taking a lot of losses, and this conscript squad may actually get killed, and it does. Now, I guess part of what Fortune was doing right there was that he was pretty much ignoring this guard rifle squad. Just tanking whatever damage came from them and focused on the conscripts, and he got a wipe out on the conscripts from that. Still has these guard rifles right here, but the guard rifles, I guess, they're kind of like very much a jack-of-all-trades unit. So they don't really excel as anti-infantry, especially not in their vanilla form. They have 2 of those anti-tank rifles, and then 4 bolt-action rifles. You can upgrade them to get DPs, but still, they're definitely not, at least in their vanilla form, not the greatest anti-infantry unit. We see some snipers very close right here. I think these snipers might be a little overextended. Will it even take it out? Yes, that sniper goes down. Wow, that MG42 on the Grenadiers is really good. Fortune himself even often talks about how good they are. As it is, it still looks like Fortune is hurting for units. He has not picked a doctrine yet. And did he just lose his Panzer Grenadiers? Oh, no, oh, that's not good at all, actually. He actually recrewed this machine gun with his Panzer Grenadiers, but then because of the fire, he actually lost his the last Panzer Grenadier member. So now he has an MG42 machine gun that actually has crewmen with STG-44s, so this MG42 squad would actually be very, very good in close combat for defending against units that try to attack it, but he lost an actual Panzer Grenadier squad. Meanwhile, this scout car from Paradox is still up, and now that Paradox doesn't have to deal with Fortune's scout car, he decides to put the combat engineers back in there. Since he doesn't necessarily need the guard rifles in there. Whoops, I did not intend to pause it. So a little bit of a lull, and we have a sniper here. This is apparently a new sniper. Paradox has lost at least 1 sniper. And those snipers, it's actually very, very easy to lose snipers in this game. Definitely, it's much easier to lose snipers in this game than in Dawn of War 2. Especially since they're extremely, extremely vulnerable to flames, extremely, extremely vulnerable to any kind of fast vehicle. And they are pretty expensive. Although only manpower. One of the things about this game is the fact that all infantry only cost manpower. No infantry costs fuel. Fuel is just used for teching and for vehicles, pretty much. But now we have quite a vehicle out of Fortune. He's got the Panzerform medium tank. Pretty much the workhorse of the German army, both in history as well as in this game. Really good for its cost, as well as when you can get it, and quite versatile, functioning as both anti-tank as well as functioning pretty decently as anti-infantry, especially once you get that extra machine gunner on top. It does cost some munitions, but you can just get some decent anti-infantry firepower out of it. As it is, it looks like this Panzer IV is chasing down the scout car, and I wonder if he can get it. Unfortunately, the turret is facing the complete wrong way, and we might see a Panzerschreck right here. No, I thought we might see a Panzerschreck to give that M3 a damaged engine, but as it is, looks like it wasn't even necessary. And that Panzer IV was just able to chase it down. We also have a mortar team out for Fortune. Mortar team, an indirect fire weapon, and we can see that he has it actually parked behind these hedges, so that's not really visible. I especially think that it'll be blocked by true sight, so it won't be very easy wouldn't be very easy for Paradox to get rid of it. Since one of the ways that Paradox might deal with this mortar team is with the sniper, of course, just from long range, taking out those mortar team members. But he can't do that if the mortar team is behind a hedge and he can't see it. So this Panzer IV right now is pretty much the dominant thing on the field. But if we take a look at Paradox, Paradox has... I'm actually not entirely sure what Paradox is saving up for and why he hasn't gotten something to deal with this Panzer IV. He has enough resources. Oh, he's actually just waiting for the mechanized armor camp to actually get built. But he has more than enough resources to put an Su-85 on the field. He's probably been floating resources, and I think a lot of that probably had to do with the fact that his sole combat engineer squad was out on the field inside his scout car. So that's something that's pretty interesting. Your tech can actually get delayed if you have your builder unit out on the field fighting, which is certainly not entirely unusual for Soviet players putting combat engineers with flamethrowers inside scout cars. So in fact, Paradox almost, with the resources he's going to get as this mechanized armor camp is being built, he will almost have the resources to get 2 Su-85s. Now, by delaying his tech, he's definitely giving up some of the map control, in part because he hasn't had much of anything to deal with the Panzer IV. He's really only been able to stall it using his conscripts, using their anti-tank grenades. And we have a fight right here. This fight, oh wow, so the conscripts retreat. And wow, I mean, the MG42 actually does quite well. Those conscripts, it did have more men on them, but ultimately they lost that fight. And now this mortar team is out in the open, though, so it would actually be very easily countered by a sniper. But Fortune still has Paradox more or less base pinned. He could go. There's nothing stopping Fortune from getting this fuel point, and it's not like, although at this point it's not like it's probably not like Paradox really needs the fuel, although it would probably be very nice for Fortune to get the fuel. As it is Paradox, again, right now, Paradox is already building an Su-85. It's about to come out on the field, and he immediately has enough resources to put out a second one if he wants. And a train of Su-85s is definitely not something that's entirely uncommon for the Soviet Union in this game. Pretty much the best anti-tank they have, and often, I mean, it's almost the only anti-tank they have. And I mean, that's not exactly true, but it really is like just the best practical anti-tank they have, because if you think about things, the most of their other tanks that can actually seriously function as anti-tank are call-ins. Most of the things out of the Tank Battalion Command really just don't do any significant anti-tank. And then out of the Mechanized Armor Camp, it's basically just the Su-85. So it's interesting just how, I don't know, this Su-85 is such a great unit, and yet in some ways it's one of the reasons it's overused is not just because of it being too good, but because it's one of the only units that serves its purpose. The main non-doctrinal anti-tank for the Soviet Union, aside from the Su-85, is just the field gun. And the field gun is good too, I mean, just in part because you can get it much earlier. You can get it very, very early. You can get it without paying any fuel whatsoever. But I'd say probably, in general, tanks are better. Tanks are actually better as anti-tank than anti-tank guns in some cases. The field guns definitely have some liabilities in terms of mainly that they're kind of like both infantry and vehicles combined, but combining some of the worst properties of both of them. They're like a vehicle in that they can't retreat, and they're like an infantry squad in that they bleed and lose models and are vulnerable to anti-infantry fire. Oh, so this is what we have going on. We have an artillery piece from Fortune, and I think he's just straight up bombarding Paradox's base. Yes, in fact he is. And I'm wondering if Paradox even lost a squad out of that. He's even using, I mean, Fortune is using, I think, he's using the reconnaissance overflight to sight. I'm not sure if that's even necessary, but he's doing it anyway. So Fortune has gone for, wow, you know, I'm honestly not even sure. This is actually definitely one of the doctrines that it's some kind of premium doctrine. I don't even own this doctrine that Fortune has right now. It gives him access to both artillery as well as the Mega Pack, the Pack 43 emplacements. And ooh, I wonder if Fortune's been crushing these guard rifles, but definitely doing a lot of damage to them. Fortune still definitely needs to be very careful with his Panzer IV because he still just has his lone Panzer IV now up against double Su-85s. The Su-85 outranges the Panzer IV, and I mean, in general, the Su-85 wins. The Panzer IV mostly wins by getting in really close, getting around the Su-85 gun, since the Su-85 does not have a turret, especially if the Panzer IV has the Blitzkrieg ability that comes at Vet 1, but Fortune's Panzer IV is not yet at Vet 1. Although I think on the power of these double Su-85s, map control is starting to go back in favor of Paradox. Even though Fortune doesn't seem like he's actually getting hit that hard by the Su-85s, but it's just scaring off his Panzer IV because Fortune knows that he can't really just run up the Panzer IV against those double Su-85s. But Fortune is still bombarding. He's still bombarding Paradox's base, just forcing him out of there. He's even got the mechanized armor camp down to half health. So wow, so Fortune could potentially, if he just constantly bombards here, he could even take out this building for Paradox, although Paradox is still in an advantageous position with having these double Su-85s out on the field. Now, some of the disadvantages that Paradox, I think, is in, Paradox, in fact, right now Paradox has no combat engineers. He has plenty of resources, so he could rebuild them. But at this moment, he has no combat engineers. That means he will not be able to repair his Su-85s or the mechanized armor camp. But Fortune still has the issue of being pushed into his base. Paradox, with the map control that he has plenty of resources. Maybe we'll see a Katyusha from him out at this point. And we even have the Mega Pack, the Pack 43 anti-tank gun. It's actually, wow. So he's actually even, the gun is even in range of these Su-85s. He probably doesn't have sight of the Su-85s. We take a look at Fortune's, yeah, I mean, well, he also doesn't have the resources for the reconnaissance overflight. He needs to somehow get units out on the field and push things back. Unfortunately for Fortune, he doesn't have much in terms of resources or map control. And he's still getting forced off the field. He's got some Vet 3 Grenadiers, though, against Vet 2 conscripts with PPSHs. I wouldn't want to risk losing those Grenadiers, but he actually still wins that fight. And Fortune now has no map control whatsoever, so he's been pushed back horribly. And, wow, you gotta be kidding. So Fortune even took out one of the Su-85s, probably with this Mega Pack, which puts Fortune in a pretty good position. He should be able to take back map control now, in part because this Mega Pack, this Pack 43, is covering covers so much range that it can basically cover half of the length of the map. So that should allow Fortune to get basically just to go back out, because the Su-85 can only go so far forward before exposing itself to the Pack 43. And that Su-85 is chasing. It's chasing the Panzer IV, which, I mean, it of course does have a bit of an advantage over it. But now it's really pushing its luck. I think it was just lucky that the Pack 43 missed there. Now, I believe the Pack 43 actually has 400 penetration, which I think means it's actually guaranteed to penetrate the armor of any vehicle. One of the only vehicles. Vehicle penetration is determined just basically by vehicles have different armor levels, and sometimes anti-tank rounds will actually just bounce off a vehicle's armor and not really do damage, or not do much damage. This Pak-43, on the other hand, just will, as long as it can actually hit a tank, it will do full, it will, well, as long as it doesn't miss entirely, the round will penetrate. And here we go with some more artillery shots from Fortune. Let's see, any more shots? And I mean, that artillery is very, very inaccurate, but just over time, I mean, the artillery ability is free, and it actually also lasts for something like 40 seconds. So, I mean, if it does hit anything, it can be really nice. And again, this mechanized armor camp still at low health. So Fortune is being extremely careful with his Panzer IV. It does now have the Blitzkrieg ability, allowing it to drive very, very quickly. But Fortune's still having trouble really getting on the map. He's going for the munitions points. I guess he wants to be able to do reconnaissance overflights. And he does have enough resources to put some kind of new unit out on the field. He could get another tank if he wanted, if he thought that that might actually be a good idea. He could even tech up, to be honest, at this point. But it looks like he's just going for Panzer Grenadiers. And he might be going for Panzer Grenadiers actually as a way of dealing with these Su-85s, because the Panzer Grenadiers are not really threatened that much by the Su-85s. They would just be threatened by the other units that Paradox has. And I actually think Paradox probably doesn't have a whole lot that would... Well, let's see. If we take a look at Paradox's side... Well, he still has... he's got a bunch of conscripts with PPSHs. Now, Paradox is kind of answering back. He has gotten his Katyusha rocket truck, his own kind of artillery, to kind of answer back to this artillery piece that Fortune has bombarding Paradox's base with. And with all the bombardment, it's hard to even keep the screen on a place where things are actually going on, because both players are fighting very, very indirectly right now. Fortune basically not wanting to drive his tanks in range of these Su-85s, since they have very long range. They outrange the Panzer IV by quite a bit. Meanwhile, Paradox does not want to drive in range of this Mega Pack, because the Mega Pack will just pierce the armor and really destroy these Su-85s. Meanwhile, we still have a sniper up for Paradox, a female sniper squad of all things, and look at how fast they go with that sprint ability. Going for a decap. Oh, this is actually not good for Paradox at all. Unfortunately, the Panzer IV kind of overshoots with its own speed ability, but it's just overshooting back again and just wipes out that Vet 2 sniper. That sniper did not have a chance. Again, any kind of fast vehicle, a sniper is basically done. And we saw just how incredibly fast this Panzer IV was going with the Blitzkrieg ability. And that Blitzkrieg ability is definitely going to be one way that Fortune is going to be able to answer back to maybe deal with these Su-85s. I'm actually surprised. I think Fortune, he wants the munitions, so probably he can put some Panzerschrecks on these Panzer Grenadiers. I'm guessing that's what he's going for. As it is, he's keeping these Panzer Grenadiers around the Su-85s. Again, that's probably what he's going for, but he did not have the munitions ready. And I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that's what he's going for. He still has the Panzer IV over here, but it does cost munitions to use that Blitzkrieg ability, so if he uses that ability, it's going to limit his ability to get Panzerschrecks on those Panzer Grenadiers. This could potentially be a very bad situation for the Panzer IV. It takes one Su-85 shot. I thought it was going to get hit by an anti-tank grenade from the Su-85. Now, Fortune, he's even got some armored skirts on his Panzer Grenadiers. I mean, his Panzer IV. And he's at least managed to stay away from the cannon of one of the Su-85s. He needs his Mega Pack to fire. The Mega Pack might have its shot blocked by something, or it's just not shooting. Let's see if it takes a shot. Wow, look at that. Look at the damage on this Su-85. I think one more shot will probably do it, if Paradox is just not paying attention. Well, nothing shot there. Meanwhile, so one of the things I think Fortune must have done at some point is that he actually took out the Katyusha. Missed that, unfortunately. And Paradox is even getting a new Katyusha just to try to counter barrage Fortune. Fortune is I mean, if we look, Fortune is losing on the VPs quite a bit, but he's really, I think he's relying a lot on that barrage. I mean, he's still got this mechanized armor camp, still taking damage over time. Trying to get his units back out on the field. Maybe he's not going for the Panzer Schrecks on these Panzer Grenadiers. Still hasn't upgraded them. May just want to actually save the munitions for his Panzer IV, which needs some repairs. It's getting some repairs from these Pioneers that has picked up a DP, although we can't see them right now since they're repairing using their tools. And we have new Panzer Grenadiers coming out from Fortune. So Fortune choosing to go for a very infantry-heavy play after, well, just choosing to go for a very infantry-heavy play, just building more infantry. Fortune is even floating a massive amount of fuel at 354, and he just has no manpower. And I mean, he just has been choosing not to get vehicles. And I mean, at this point, the best he could do for a vehicle is just another Panzer IV. And as it is, he's been very conservative with the Panzer IV that he has. And he'll probably bring the Panzer IV back out again to chase down this Katyusha. I think he's got to see the Katyusha. And he's going to take one barrage. And he's taking some damage, but I think that Katyusha probably just not hitting as hard as this artillery piece right here. And he's going to lose the Katyusha again. Unfortunately, probably just not a good purchase to go for that Katyusha when we have a Panzer IV right here with Blitzkrieg. And with Blitzkrieg, Paradox is not even able to chase down that Panzer IV. And then Fortune will probably just, again, he's just probably just going to drive this Panzer IV back so that if the Su-85s try to chase, they will be driving in front of the arc of that Megapack. Now, unfortunately for Fortune, he's still running out of time on VPs. He's only at 150 VPs. It's a double cap against him, and he doesn't even have one VP. And Fortune's actually doing a great job with this Panzer IV. He's actually really using the speed and mobility of it, especially with the Blitzkrieg ability, to really just strike when necessary with this Panzer IV, and then just get it the hell out of the way, get it to safety whenever it gets threatened by those Su-85s. And then, of course, he has this Megapack right here, just kind of protecting his retreat with that Panzer IV. And I actually feel like I mean, Paradox is probably a very good player. I haven't played him myself, but I'm sure he would kick my ass, and I've definitely seen his name around a bit. But right now I think he's struggling with the ways he's using these Su-85s, where the Su-85s, in a way, they're not doing much. I mean, they are deterring the approach of the Panzer IV. That is one of the things they are doing. But they're not killing the Panzer IV. And if anything, the Panzer IV is still getting to do something, still being very effective, taking out at least one Katyusha. And I'm guessing he used that to take out the original Katyusha as well. And I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that Paradox is actually, he's basically just not really been able to counter this Panzer IV with his Su-85s. But I think now Fortune might be pushing his luck. He's using, he used Blitzkrieg to try to get around those vehicles, but he got his Panzer IV button. And now it's about to get into the firing arc of both of these Su-85s. Very bad situation for Fortune. I think he's just barely going to be able to get it around this hedge. Did not suffer any kind of engine damage, but that button just really put him in a bad position. As it is, he actually may still lose this Panzer IV. Yeah, he's really got to continue to block line of sight, get it around the house. That's pretty much his only chance, but he seems to be having trouble with micro. He's getting it around the hedge. I think that Su-85 might take just one more shot. Wow, just unfortunately the fact that the Su-85 is an assault gun, as much as people have complained about the Su-85 complaining about it being an overpowered unit, being so effective as anti-tank and at such long range, the fact that it is an assault gun that does not have a turret really is coming out to be a disadvantage. And that's not to say that the Su-85 is still not a very good unit, but we've really just been seeing Fortune actually exploit that, exploit the fact that the Su-85 does not have a turret, like just in those last few plays. So Fortune now has his double cap, and he's still, wow, look at this. So Fortune, Wow, and we had an Su-85, I think, finally got hit by something. Maybe even got hit by the artillery rather than the mega pack. But this is actually a really, really bad situation for Paradox. Even though Fortune has so few VPs compared to Paradox, he's actually managed to finally take out the mechanized armor cam. So Paradox cannot build any more Su-85s. As it is, he's out of manpower pretty much. He would need to spend manpower to get his mechanized armor cam back, and then he would not be able to get any more Su-85s out. He's down to one Su-85. Another mistake with pausing the game. He's even like pretty much gone. He's pretty much done with his units as well.
Enemy forces are attempting to capture our territory.
I mean, at this point, Fortune's going to get his capture. Well, no, he's actually going to get this unit suppressed. Although the Panzer Grenadier is definitely going to chase off the sniper. But, I mean, and one of the other things is that Paradox is actually very, very close to getting his regimental field headquarters destroyed entirely. So, oh, wait, I actually made a mistake. Paradox actually does have the resources to rebuild, but he's still in a bad position just because he has a lot to rebuild, and he's about to lose his regimental field headquarters. So, this artillery piece proving to be very strong on this map. This map is pretty small. I think it's smaller than most of the other Company of Heroes 2 maps. And in part, this was a map that was adopted from the original Company of Heroes. And I think people have been saying that overall, the maps from the original Company of Heroes are smaller than the maps in Company of Heroes 2, and that the maps in Company of Heroes 2 are pretty big, maybe even a little too big. But in this case, wow, this regimental field headquarters is almost dead. So we're practically about to see, like, base destruction in a Relic RTS. Definitely more common in Company of Heroes than in Dawn of War 2. But, I mean, nevertheless, we're about to see base destruction. Like, I'm waiting for this regimental field headquarters to die. And, I mean, well, Paradox has no units left. Fortune somehow just... and he built up a massive army. Was able to kind of weather a lot of that early pressure. I mean, there was a time when Fortune had no map control. He had, like, 2 points. He had a strategy point and a victory point. And Paradox had Fortune pinned in his base, and he was just able to weather that storm. And, oh, and there goes the Su-85. Paradox is done, pretty much. I mean, if we look at Paradox, he's lost everything. And that's the end of the game. Paradox concedes. Apologize for the accidental pauses. Unfortunately, my mouse is old, and it has an annoying tendency to double-click. But, hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.